Hi, in this discussion, I'm going to talk about the need to grow support for electric vehicles in the United States. Now, what you're looking at now on the eastern half of the United States, each icon represents a charger, a charging station. Now, from this viewpoint, this aerial viewpoint, it may look like there's lots and lots of chargers all over the country. And there are lots of chargers all over the country. Now, each icon does represent one charger. What if each icon represented one gas station? You would not be able to see any land under any of the icons. So there's a need to grow support for electric vehicles in this country, which is why I am so glad that I have an extended range electric vehicle, which is my ELR. My 2014 Cadillac ELR is not just a electric vehicle that must be plugged in. It's an extended range electric vehicle. It's an electric vehicle whose range is extended by the fact that it carries its own generator on board. The gasoline engine generates electricity, The gasoline engine generates electricity. And as a result of being an electricity generator, the speed of the engine is independent of the speed of the car. If I should not plug in my vehicle and it needs electricity, and then the engine can run in range extending mode, which will do two things simultaneously. It will allow me to drive the car, plus it will generate the electricity and some of that electricity will be stored in the power supply that will allow me to later on drive the car without the generator running or without the gas engine running. Okay, now I'm going to zoom in into Charlotte, North Carolina, which is where I live. And what we're looking at is charging stations. There's 3 different chargers. There's residential, which are indicated by people which are the ones that private people are sharing from their residence, which is what I'm doing. Then there's public, which is installed by business or government. And there's high power stations or fast charge or superchargers. And let's see. I'm going to have to move over a little bit. And I think this one is mine. Yes, it is. Okay, now I have a 120 volt outlet plug in my garage, an EV plug J1772, which is very, very common amongst electric vehicles. It is not the standard, I don't believe, but it's very common. And there's the address and the phone number. And all I request is that the person call first in order to use it. And there's other residential chargers that some people are sharing themselves as well. There's someone named Scott V. He's sharing his. Now, I suspect that the reason for lack of wide support for electric vehicles is because retailers and the government, either city, state, or federal, haven't quite figured out exactly how they're going to make money on supporting electric vehicles. And that's one of the advantages of having an extended range electric vehicle, such as made by GM. That's an advantage to having an extended range electric vehicle, is that you don't have to plug it in all the time. You don't have to constantly be searching for a place to plug in the car. In other words, you don't have to suffer from range anxiety. Well, how far can I drive before I have to find an outlet to plug into? I don't have to be concerned about that. It's nice to be able to drive without running the generator, or the gas engine, that is. But if I have to run the generator, then I have to run my generator. It doesn't interrupt me. It doesn't cause me to have to stop traveling. I can go as far as I want as long as I have gasoline available for the prime mover, which is a gas engine. It doesn't have to be gasoline, but it's more convenient because there's gas stations all over the place. Okay, now back to the charging portion. There's chargers basically all over the country, as we've seen, and now you can see the wide open spaces between the different chargers that are available. In some cases here, I know in Charlotte area, in some cases you can drive a straight 15 miles and not pass one charger at all. And it's very easy to do. As a matter of fact, oftentimes I will go out of my way to look for a charger, and after I drive so long and I get to the point where it's obviously not worth it, then I will just stop looking. And that's the end of it. Now, why do I look for a charger when I have an extended range electric vehicle? The reason I look for a charger is because I want to minimize the number of hours that my engine has to run or my generator needs to run. I want to run on straight electricity if in fact I can. And most of the time I can't due to the poor support for straight electric vehicles. Now, there are some retailers that do have outstanding support. And one of those is Publix. This is an electric vehicle charging station that I was at while shopping. Publix is my preferred store to shop for food. And there's one here in Charlotte that has a charging station for electric vehicles, and you're looking at that sign right now. And while I was shopping at Publix, they have competitive prices, and the bonus was that I can charge my car here. So I passed by one or two other food stores, I think, and just to get to this particular Publix, and I actually earn EV range in my car by shopping here. So it's a win for me. In this particular, and that is another shot of the Publix station. That's the little control panel, and that's an indication that my car is charging. And here's another charging station that was about 3 miles away from an appointment that I had on the other side of the city. It was in between where I live and in between my appointment, but I had to take a little bit of time to look for it, and that's fine and dandy. I sat in my car for about 45 minutes, and I earned a few EV miles on my car, because it wasn't really out of the way. It was only slightly out of the way, maybe a mile or two. But all it cost me was about 30 to 45 minutes while my car was charging. And this is where I parked while I was using that particular charger. And here's a photograph of my ELR while it's plugged in, while I'm using this charger. Now the interface where the interface where this cable plugs into the automobile is not quite a standard interface, but it's very, very common. A lot of manufacturers are using this particular interface that the ELR uses. I won't say that every manufacturer uses that same mechanical interface for the electrical connection, but a lot of them do use that. And I want to get back to map. And again, this is Charlotte again, and this 485 that surrounds basically the city of Charlotte. Goes all the way around the city. Now imagine from the top of the circle to the bottom of 485, from the northern part to the southern part of 45 is approximately 30 miles if you were to drive it straight. It's approximately 30 miles. Now imagine how many gas stations you would pass if if you were driving from the north side of 45 all the way down to the southern bottom portion of it. This particular circle would be covered with, if each icon represented gas stations, this particular circle would be covered with icons. You wouldn't be able to see any land under there like you do right now. So this is a indication that the growth of support for electric vehicles is sorely needed, because more and more people are buying electric vehicles. After all, here's another point. If running a car inside of a garage with the garage door closed is going to eventually kill a person and cause them to fall out unconscious, what makes us think that we can drive billions and billions of cars all over the planet for many, many years and not affect the quality of the air that we're breathing, that it's not going to make us or affect our health? Because ultimately it is. It is going to affect our health, and it already is. There's tons and tons of pollutants being spit out by automobiles on a daily basis, not just in our country, but all over the entire planet. And the planet's not going to be able to absorb all of that crap. And the other issue is that electricity is so much cheaper. Electricity can come from various places. You can generate electricity from the prime mover for generating electricity can be various types of engines, various types of mechanical means. It can be wind driven. It can be driven by water. As long as you have something as a prime mover to move the generator. Something has to move the generator because you need movement, you need an electrical conductor, and you need a magnetic field. And as long as you have movement in the magnetic field in the conductor and the relative motion and they're situated and they have the correct, if they're situated the way they're supposed to be, then you can successfully generate electricity. I babbled my way through that, I think. But anyway, getting back to the chargers. We have residential chargers, public stations, and high power stations. The high power stations are glorious. I mean, I haven't used any station where I've gotten a full charge, or I was willing to sit around for a full charge anyway, at all. But the high power stations have given me lots of power in a short period of time. And ultimately caused me to be able to drive around the city at a rate of 100 miles per gallon. Now, I measure my efficiency by miles per gallon because my car does, in fact, like I said, have its own generator, and the generator happens to run off of gasoline. So I measure my efficiency by MPG, and once I get above 80, I start to become happy or satisfied with my MPG. And that's one of the motivations or reasons that I will share my charger, my EV plug. I got a J1772 plug there, and I also have a wall outlet in my garage. And there's the address and the phone number. And let's see, I wanted to talk about something else somewhere. Once again, there's a photograph of my car being charged. I spent about 30 to 45 minutes here, I believe. And it was nice. It was cold. It was kind of cool today, but it was nice and sunny. And I had plenty of time. And if other stores would follow the if other retailers would follow the lead of Publix supermarkets, I suspect that those retailers could enjoy a larger share of a larger customer base. I know Publix in this particular instance has earned a larger share of my business as a result of having a vehicle charging station, electric vehicle charging station. I really, really like that. Speaking of charging stations, I haven't ran into any, but I have read that some stations could possibly be charging literally a dollar or two per hour, and that's an absolute rip-off rate. When I first purchased my vehicle, my electric bill went up the first 3 months it went up by $35 a month. And I plugged my car in every single night and it stayed plugged in all night, whether it needed it or not. And my electricity bill went up by approximately $35 per month for the first 3 months of my ownership of my electric vehicle. So, a retailer charging $1 an hour or something like that is absolutely, that's a rape me rate. I mean, they're raping the customer of money. It's absolutely ridiculous, and it should be illegal. It really should be illegal to charge that much for somebody to plug in their vehicle. I mean, after all, if it's a retail outlet, they're earning money by getting a larger customer base because more people are shopping there. So why rip people off like that? It's ridiculous. But there needs to be more support for electric vehicles throughout this country. There's no doubt about that. Because electric vehicle owners have to drive relatively long distance just to find some place to plug into. And this PlugShare website is visual proof of that. It's not only like this in my city, Charlotte. There's other cities where it's very similar situations.